And all eyes are on the Brexit vote, and of course, a lot has been said about whether or not the deal will actually sail through the UK Parliament. Let's cut straight across to the House of Commons.
So, if the Honourable Lady wants us to get on to negotiating the future relationship, vote for the deal tonight. Let's get on to that next stage. Now, important though the backstop is, it was not the only concern honourable members had. Another was in regards to the political declaration. Because it provides, as the Honourable Lady has hinted at in her question, it provides for a spectrum of possible outcomes. Members asked how they could be confident about what sort of future relationship the government would negotiate. Can I just continue to make my point? I'm sure we can all learn lessons from how we approach this first phase of the negotiations as we move on to the second. For my part, I've no doubt that the government does need to build a strong consensus in the House before we go on to negotiate the future relationship, not least to ensure the process of ratification is smoother than that for the withdrawal agreement. And that's why we've committed to give a much stronger and clearer role for this House and for the other place during the next phase. Not just a consensus in Parliament either. Businesses, trade unions and civil society must all play a much bigger part, contributing their expertise in a collective national effort to secure the very best future relationship with the EU. That new approach, if I just wait for a second, that new approach will start with the withdrawal agreement bill. If the deal passes tonight, notice of presentation will be given tomorrow and the bill will be introduced on Thursday. And as we discuss that bill, we can debate how exactly we will ensure that this Parliament has the full say it deserves. Mr. Speaker, I'll give way.
Can I thank the Prime Minister for giving way? Given the clock is ticking, there are millions of people working in businesses up and down this country that want the most certain outcome, and voting for this deal today is the best way of delivering it. Voting the deal down will lead to more uncertainty, and none of us know where we're going to end up. So I, for one, will be supporting the government of the Prime Minister.
Can I thank my honourable friend? He has made a very important point. Rejecting this deal tonight, the only certain thing about rejecting this deal tonight is that it increases uncertainty. Businesses and individuals want certainty.
And I do feel for my right honourable friend with the throat condition she's got at the moment, I really do. But having said that, she's referred to the fact that the backstop is very important. We all know that, and rightly so. The question, however, is also under this withdrawal agreement and the withdrawal implementation bill which is to come. First of all, we haven't seen a draft of it, and I'm hoping we can get that very soon, as my European Scrutiny Committee have just said in the report. But the second thing is that in there it is quite clear that we will not be discharging what she said herself at Lancaster House. We would not truly leave the European Union unless we regain control of our own laws. Under Article 4, it's clear that that is not the case. What is the answer of my honourable friend to that point?
Prime Minister. To my honourable friend, first of all, I'm pleased to hear that he's keen to see the withdrawal agreement bill. That bill, of course, as I've said, will be presented to this House this week if my honourable friend and others vote for this deal tonight to get this deal through. If my right honourable learned friend. But I also say to my honourable friend, yes, there are provisions in relation to the role of the European Court of Justice during the period for our winding down and winding our way out of the European Union. But it is clear, and that covers the implementation period. What is absolutely clear is once we are beyond that point, there is no jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice other than for a limited period of years in relation to citizens' rights. There is no jurisdiction of the European Court of Justice in this country. I give way to the floor.
She just said that if she manages to get her withdrawal agreement approved by this House, She doesn't want the next stage of serious negotiations about our long-term future to proceed in the same way, and she's giving a greater role to Parliament. I strongly endorse that. We can't have another arrangement where she just reaches a perfectly satisfactory agreement on the 3 points she did, and then we descend into parliamentary farce as different people argue about what changes they like. So isn't it the best way of proceeding, if she gets her withdrawal agreement through, then to have some indicative votes in the House of Commons before the serious negotiations start, so the government can go into those negotiations knowing what a broad mass of Parliament is likely to support and back her up if she can achieve it?
Can I thank my learned friend for the point that he's made? Actually, I think there are a number of ways in which we can ascertain what the views of the House would be prior to entering into the next stage of negotiations. And obviously, we have been looking at the details of that and will want to be consulting and talking across the House in relation to that matter. But of course, the first step, as my right honourable and learned friend rightly indicated, in order to get onto that stage, is to pass the deal tonight. Mr. Speaker, I really am going to try and make a little more progress. I have been extremely generous with interventions. Not everybody in this House is as generous as I am when it comes to interventions. Mr. Speaker, I set out to the House 2 weeks ago the specifics of what will happen if the deal is rejected tonight. We will first of all return tomorrow to consider whether the House supports leaving the European Union on the 29th of March without a withdrawal agreement and a framework for a future relationship. If the House votes against no deal, it would vote on whether or not to seek an extension of Article 50. I sincerely hope that the House will not put itself in this invidious position. We can avoid it by supporting what I profoundly believe is a good deal and a substantially better deal than we had 8 weeks ago. But if it comes to it, the choices would be bleak. In the long term, we could ultimately make a success of no deal, but there would be significant economic shock in the short term, and be in no doubt about the impact that would have on businesses and families. We would lose the security cooperation that helps keep us safe from crime, terrorism and other threats, and we would risk weakening support for our union. I note that the Right Honourable Member for Ross, Skye and Lochaber had tabled an amendment seeking a second Scottish independence referendum. Polling shows that support for both Scottish independence and United Ireland would be higher if we leave without a deal. While a no deal in the absence of institutions in Northern Ireland would create a substantial problem of governance there. Should the House reject leaving on the 29th of March without a deal, and then support the government seeking an extension to Article 50, our problems would not be solved. An extension without a plan would prolong the uncertainty, threatening jobs and investment. Yet even as it did so, it would not change the debate or the questions that need to be settled. It would merely pass control to the European Union. They would decide how long an extension to offer, meaning we may not get what we ask for. They could even impose conditions on an extension. That could mean moving to a Brexit that does not meet the expectations of those who voted to leave. Or even moving to a second referendum with all the damage that that would do to trust in our democracy. Equally, there is a risk that having voted for an extension, this House would still not be able to agree a way forward, and we would end up leaving without a deal. And just one moment, I'll give way to the Honourable Gentleman. If any of these things were to happen, it would be no good blaming the European Union. Responsibility would lie with this House. Our failure to come together in the national interest to deliver on the vote of the British people. I will give way to the Honourable Gentleman and then the Honourable Gentleman.
Yes, I'm extremely grateful for her giving way. The first of her Brexit secretaries is sitting in his place. Time after time after time, he stood at that dispatch box and he promised this House that we would get the exact same benefits after we leave than we currently enjoy with the EU. Does she not accept that raising expectations that high set a level that she has absolutely failed to meet? That has damaged trust. in her Brexit. That has caused the situation that we're in now, and we have to find another way forward.
Minister. I say to the honourable gentleman that we have set out in the proposals that the government itself put forward a way of ensuring that we maintain a very close economic partnership with the European Union in the future, a close security partnership with the European Union in the future, but that we are also able to have the benefit of acting as an independent country, of being that sovereign state, and of having our own trade deals with other countries around the world. I said I'd give way to the honourable gentleman at the back.
I thank the Prime Minister for giving way, and I welcome her commitment to potentially legislate for the political declaration, albeit, I believe, doing so in the withdrawal bill only once we voted to endorse the political declaration may be a slightly convoluted way. So could I suggest that there may be a third option to consider? If the deal is not passed this evening, what the Prime Minister could do is independently legislate the political declaration now, setting out in law what the end point will be and what role Parliament will have in statute before we are asked to vote again on a further deal, because that would give people like me the confidence to understand that by voting for the withdrawal agreement, there is certainty on the political declaration about where we're going.
I thank the honourable gentleman for his proposal in relation to that matter. I think one of the issues, though, is that there are elements of the political declaration, of course, that remain to be negotiated, where there is not the certainty that I think he was searching for in the proposal that he put forward. But he certainly, I give him the credit for inventiveness and thinking carefully about these issues. Mr. Speaker, I will give way one final time to the right honourable gentleman.
I thank the Prime Minister. She's being very generous. Would she agree with me, however, that whatever happens today, whether her withdrawal agreement is passed or not, we are going to have an extension to Article 50 because there is not time to complete the business we will need to complete before the 29th of March.
Prime Minister. Honourable gentleman, let's get the deal agreed tonight. Then the usual channels will work to see what is necessary in relation to getting legislation through this House. Mr. Speaker, it was not this House that... No, I've said...
The honourable gentleman's a cheeky chappy, chortling and...